In the previous video, we learned all about the diaphragm and why that muscle is so important in learning how to breathe correctly. We know now that when we breathe in, our belly should be drawing out, pulling the diaphragm down and drawing the oxygen all the way into the deepest part of the lungs. So the first exercise that was given is where we lay down on our back, place an object on our belly and try and make that object rise up as we breathe in and let the object sink down as we breathe out. Now what you're going to find is that that may be easy, or some people might find that a little bit challenging, and all I can say is just stick with it. Laying down at night in your bed, anytime where you're laying down, just try and activate this diaphragm, trying to raise the belly up. You don't even need an object, you can just place your hand on there if you need to. So what you'll find is that when you come to a seated position or even a standing position, it's a lot harder to have this mechanics working of the belly coming out and the diaphragm moving down. And you might ask yourself, why is this? And there's two main reasons for this. One could be incorrect posture, and the other one could be related to body image or self-esteem issues. So let's first look at how self-esteem and body image relates and affects our breathing. So as far back as the 16th century, with the introduction of the corset for women, and maybe even further back than that, society has always recognized a need or a want to have this very tight and drawn in midsection. So as a result, we tend to engage in these holding patterns. So when we're laying down, we're not really body conscious, we're relaxing, and so we let ourselves go. And by doing that, it releases this abdominal area and allows the diaphragm to move more easily, taking in more air into the lungs and allowing ourselves to relax and fall asleep. So what happens when we start to sit up? We become body conscious and we start to hold ourselves in this area here. Now this has negative effects in many different areas of the body. But before we get into that, let's look at how large this abdominal area is. It starts just below the sternum where it starts to get soft and goes all the way down until you can touch the top of the pubic bone there or the front of the pelvis. So that whole section there is our abdominal area. So when we're drawing ourselves in this area or holding ourselves in here, we're first negatively affecting the function of a lot of our organs, all of our digestive organs, all of our sexual and reproductive organs. We're limiting the blood flow and circulation to these areas by holding ourselves in. So that's the first reason. The second thing that happens is that we're actually initiating a stress response because this is not a natural position that the body wants to be in. By drawing ourselves in, we're actually initiating our sympathetic nervous system. And this actually starts to release cortisol. Now this is the kind of irony in this, is that we hold ourselves in because we don't want to look overweight or we want to hold our belly in, but in doing so we actually create more cortisol in our system, which actually leads to more fat storage. So that's something you can have a little look at yourself. But the third reason is obviously the breathing. So by drawing ourselves in here, it just makes it so much harder for us to take in long, deep breaths. We cannot allow the diaphragm to move in its full capacity by holding ourselves in this position here. Now for some people, this idea of letting your belly out doesn't feel very comfortable. But what we need to do is we need to learn how to let this go. If the more that we can let this area go, the more we can start to learn how to breathe correctly, the more we can learn how to relax, the more we can activate our parasympathetic nervous system, and the more that we can engage in a better quality of life. So here are some exercises you can use at home in learning how to release this abdominal area. And coming to a neutral standing position, bend the knees, place the hands onto the knees, taking the stress out of the lower back. So from this position here, you want to hold your breath and you want to suck the abdomen in and then extend the abdomen fully out. And for anyone pregnant, please do not try this exercise. So here you can see a view where you can see the abdomen or the abdominal area working here. So holding the breath, drawing in that abdomen area and extending that abdomen area out fully. So we want to get this idea of letting go and get this full range of motion in this abdominal area. So this next exercise is best to be used straight after the first abdominal release exercise. So come to a standing position, bend the knees slightly, and use your fingers to press into the side of this abdominal area. So you're working your way all the way up and all the way down. Pushing in one hand at a time, you should create this ripple effect through this abdominal area, and it should have quite a peculiar feeling to it. So once you get a little bit more comfortable, you can start to increase the speed and actually feel this area completely relax and let go. And this is the idea that we want to try and achieve through this exercise. So join us for the next video when we look at our posture and what's limiting us from being able to breathe correctly in the seated or standing position. I look forward to seeing you then.